Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Hey, before we get going with this episode today, we want to remind you that City Weekly's Best of Utah voting is going on right now through September 3rd. They have a Best Local Podcast category this year, and we could really use your help this time around. So head on over to iamsaltlake.com/bestofutah2018 for more information and cast your votes on things and businesses in Utah that you believe are the best. Many thanks in advance for all of those of you that have voted for us. Thank you so much. And with that being said, let's welcome everybody out today to episode 343 of I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris.
And my name's Chrissy.
Hey, guess what, guys? We are recording today out of a brand new location, Mountain West Hard Cider. They're located at 425 North, 400 West. You know, when we reached out, we needed a new place to record some podcast episodes. And they brought us in. They kind of took us under their wing. They really step
up to the plate. And they brought me a Desolation Prickly Pear Hard Cider to drink while we record.
What do you think of that?
Yum.
Was it good?
Yum, 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 yum.
Stop on by here. I mean, you could pick up your drinks right here out of their location. Great place to come. Mountain West Hard Cider, 425 North, 400 West. Thanks so much for...
Thanks for opening up your space to us.
Yeah, allowing us to record here.
If this is your first time listening to us, you might be wondering what we're doing here. Well, Chris and I are here to showcase all the awesome people in Salt Lake City. We get a chance to talk to musicians, artists, business owners, restaurant owners, food truck owners, bartenders, really anybody in Salt Lake who has a cool story to tell.
Like today on the podcast, we get to sit down and have an awesome conversation with Bobby Glen James. You know, it was really cool. I got to actually meet Bobby through this past summer. Spring and summer as during the planning stages of the Utah Podcast Summit that we were part of this past June. So today we're going to be playing an awesome conversation that we had with Bobby where we got to find out all about Speak Up in his speaking workshops. We also talk about the podcast he does called Biz for Good. And we even talk about a book that he wrote. And we're going to get into all that here in just a minute.
But before we jump into that interview, can we give some love to our sponsors? Market Source Real Estate, Five Wives Vodka, and Blip Billboards. We're going to be telling you a little bit more about them later on the show.
Before we do that, though, it is farmers market season, and this is my favorite time of the year in Salt Lake City. I don't even want to think about farmers market being over. Luckily, it goes until October 20th. It is every Saturday in historic Pioneer Park, right downtown, right between the blocks of like 300 South, 400 South. Right there. You guys know where it is, though. 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Like I said, every Saturday. And if you have never been to the downtown farmers market, please go check it out. It's like a big festival almost that goes on every Saturday, like a big event, free to get into. It is kid friendly, tons of great produce, tons of great other items that are made here locally in Salt Lake City.
And the food, you guys, the food there is so wonderful. You have to check it out. That being said, let's get into that conversation with Bobby Glen James when he came over to share his story with us. Enjoy.
What did your childhood smell like, Bobby? I've been really eager to ask you this question. Seems like you would have a really good answer.
It's pretty interesting. So my dad was a paranoid schizophrenic and my mom is bipolar. So it made for an interesting life. I had the greatest parents on earth, even though they were wackos. My dad was my best friend. And I didn't know until I was a teenager that paranoid schizophrenic was a bad thing because he would actually introduce himself. Hi, I'm Bob James, paranoid schizophrenic, because he was a disabled veteran. And so growing up, mental illness I thought was pretty much normal life. So, and they're my parents. So I've got all their genes.
So So to kind of carry on a little bit with that, I mean, you had no idea mental illness. Did you struggle at all with having parents like that through like teenage years? Yeah. Or, I mean, is that a really deep rooted, long answer?
It is. I was like, man, why couldn't I have normal parents? But then I grow up and you see things and you see other people's lives. You know what? My dad wasn't abusive.
Yeah.
He was crazy, but he wasn't abusive. He loved me. My mom was my biggest fan my whole life. She still is. You know, she tried to commit suicide so many times, but she's 81 now, and I'm going to go pick her up at the airport here in a little bit. She's just an amazing person. I couldn't have asked for better parents, even though I grew up with a pretty colorful life.
Well, you know,
my dad was also, he never worked. He was a hustler.
So like an entrepreneur or like a hustler,
that's
like a
kinda
scam,
how I learned
like a scam artist.
Well, and he was a hustler that he would hustle to get stuff. Like we
Okay.
would go on what was called tube runs in the Texas. I'm from Texas. And we would, in the plains of Texas, you'd go on, we'd get a big trailer and we'd just go from gas station to gas station and we'd find their inner tubes.
Okay.
And we would load up with inner tubes and he'd go all the way. We'd do this for several days. And then you'd go and the recycle plant would give you money for however many pounds of the plastic of the inner tubes. And we'd make $700-800 on this run. That's how my dad made money. So he would do crazy.
If it works, right?
He would do crazy crap like that. Or he would go to flea markets. I was raised in going to auctions and then taking that and then going to flea markets. And I was the richest 8-year-old. I had money stuffed in my tube socks because my dad would, if I could sell it, he'd give me a price. And if I sold it for any more than that, then I'd get the leftover.
Keep the difference. So you learned how to be a salesman pretty young.
Yep.
So I remember I took one of your story classes. Well, not like your weekend. You have like, which I want to get into and talk about this.
3-day intensives.
I took like an evening, couple hours.
Yep.
And I remember you shared the story about your parents.
Mm-hmm.
It was so powerful. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now. Feeling, was that tough the first times you started sharing that? Because I mean, most people, they have a hard time being honest.
Being that open.
But
now,
yet,
is that the one about my mom and
pretty much what you shared right now on the podcast about what you talked about your mom trying to light it on fire, the bathroom, took you in the bathroom.
Yep.
And I apologize if you didn't want me to share that now on the podcast. Most people, I know Chrissy and I, we've even talked about that, being vulnerable, being opened up and sharing your story. Was that tough for you?
It is, but it's also the only way to get credibility and connection with your audience. To be vulnerable. It's really the only way to get above the noise because I'm the only me and my experiences are the only me and people that want to connect with me and really engage.
You're just being authentic.
Being authentic. It's the only way to be different than everybody else is to actually be who you are.
Yeah.
Because we all try so hard.
Which is really hard. It's hard to be who you are.
Yeah.
But
why do you think it's hard for most people? I mean, I guess we all have our own answers. Like me, myself, I'm afraid people will judge me or people won't, they'll know, oh, this guy's crazy. I'm not going to give him this job opportunity or I'll stop listening to his podcast.
I'll tell you another story. So I also have dyslexia. So I grew up with a learning disability, thinking I was stupid. And then I grew up and I got jobs in the corporate world. And I hid it. I tried to hide, and I had this real phobia about people finding out I was stupid. And so, and they would ask me, why does it take you 30 minutes to reply to an email? And it's like a one-liner. Mm-hmm. It's because it took me that long to try and figure out grammar and all that stuff. And then one day we were in a meeting, and the HR person, is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? And for whatever reason, I decided I was going to come out. I was going to come out in the corporate setting in front of all my peers. Hey, guys, I want to tell you, I have a learning disability. That's why it takes a long time. And I can't spell. Cat and thee is about the only thing I can spell.
Wow, you go big or go home.
Exactly. I was like,
all or nothing.
Later, I'm like, what in the hell? Why did I do that? But I just felt like, you know what? I was tired of pretending. I was tired of trying to be something I wasn't. I mean, I'm a very intelligent, smart human. I have a super high IQ. I just can't spell, and words look weird to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it was. And it was weird later. The HR person came to me and said, hey, we can help you and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? But
was everyone trying to fix you?
Yes.
Oh, man.
And then everybody kind of looked at me different. And
Did they give you a special they
didn't quite go that far. But I was like,
this is Bobby's spot.
But it actually did kind of open me up, and I'm much more open about who I am that way. I think it's freeing.
Well, I'm jealous of you, man. Like honestly,
so
like
freeing.
Like there has to be a part of being open and honest as you become that has actually helped you become more successful
Absolutely.
in what you do, which I want to get into. Speaking. What got you into speaking?
So in Texas, growing up, I was going to be a rock star.
Wait, yeah.
And so I was on stage a ton. I had really, really long hair, braids back in the 90s. I mean, we traveled all over the state, clubs, dive bars, everything you could imagine.
Were you a singer?
How'd you know?
Well, you seem like a front man. You seem like the front man type.
Wanted to be right in front, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if I didn't have a mic, I tell people if I have a guitar in the band, that means the band sucked. I like jumping around. When wireless mics came out, oh my gosh.
Game changer.
World. They're like, dude, you need to stay on stage. I'm like, dude, this is fun being out with the audience. This is awesome. I loved it. But I love being on stage.
Okay.
And when I moved to Utah, I kind of, I cut my hair and I that world just is, it's a tough gig. I mean,
yeah.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll and the music industry is just, it's a brutal space.
It seems like it would wear you out really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got buddies that didn't even make it. Many buddies that didn't make it. I mean, I was in a pretty hardcore scene and I came here to Utah and
Why? Why did you come into Utah?
Oh, the classic reason.
Oh,
A girl.
A girl.
A girl. Of course it was a girl.
Of course it was a girl. We've been married 22 years now.
Well,
Oh,
congratulations.
so it worked out.
It did work out, believe it or not. One of the very few times that, I came up here and she says, I don't know why you're up here, but I just want to be your friend. And then she kissed me and it was weird.
Huh.
But you
Mixed
liked it.
signals.
Yeah,
You liked
signals. I'm like, wait a minute. That's interesting. And then we got married 4 months later after I got up.
Holy cow. How long did you know each other?
Almost a year. Kind of.
Okay.
She was in Texas
Okay.
and she moved back up here and I followed her.
Oh,
Because she was from here.
So you come to Utah and you realize, well, I can't be a rock star in Utah?
No, I had kind of put up the rock star life, just realizing, and it was one night, I'm on stage and I'm looking out over the crowd and I'm thinking, we're all trying to find something here and it's not here, including me. And I just realized that was the last time I was going to be on stage. I just said, I'm done.
So what did you want to do from that moment on?
See, I always knew I was going to be a rock star.
Okay.
I always knew that, I could only be on stage. I loved the stage. It was my world. But when I moved up here and I got a job at Icon Health and Fitness doing quality control, nobody wanted to do the new job. What do you call it when with the guy that comes out and tells you about your new job?
Like new
the
New
trainer,
hire stuff.
the
The new hire trainer stuff.
yeah.
Nobody
Okay, I
wanted
got
to
you.
do that. And I'm like, I get to get up in front of people and talk to them. And I loved it. I loved getting up and, we got 40 people here that are new hires and I'm telling them stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of fun. And it reminded me of being on stage.
Yeah.
And then later I started a training company. So I volunteered to teach elderly people how to use computers back in the 90s.
Oh
Way
man,
back in
you're
the
a
90s.
saint. That is hard work.
It is brutal.
I
my
couldn't
gosh.
even imagine doing that now with it being
No.
much more high tech, let alone the 80s.
But I'll tell you what, when this 80-year-old lady, all of a sudden a light went off in her head and she's like, I can email and yes, in the 90s we had emails, believe it or not.
They took like 2 hours to load, but yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, I can email my granddaughter. There was nothing more satisfying than having this 80-year-old lady not be afraid of that computer anymore. And I just loved it. And then all of a sudden, other places wanted to pay me to teach them. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I made a training company, and started going around training people how to use computers. Then because of that, I got a big corporate job going all over the country, training people how to use technology. So I was flown all over to get up in front of people and teach them how to do stuff. And I loved it.
And I mean, obviously people were enjoying you teaching them as well, right? You had a connection with people.
Because I was a performer, and I really think that's a bit, and when we talk about getting people in front of on the stage, you've got to perform.
Yeah.
We've all been there where we're bored out of our minds. And people would tell me, and I knew I was onto something, because I'd be at this corporate thing and people would go up, Bobby, this is the first time I didn't feel like I needed to go to sleep. Thank you. Thank you so much for being engaging with this boring crap that you're teaching. So I'm like, you know what? This is my new stage.
Yeah.
Get in front of people and teach them. So I created all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
That's a real skill. Like, that's a huge talent to be able to actually be on stage talking at people for a while and keeping them entertained, especially learning.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I'll be honest, I fall asleep in meetings all the time.
That's just because you have a sleepy disorder.
Well, I probably have a sleeping disorder, but that's a whole other thing.
So
I believe there's three things: entertainment, inspiring, and educate. That's what we teach at Speak Up. And that entertain piece, I really believe 70% of being on stage should be entertaining. The data, let's face it, guys, the data, you're not going to learn anything if all you hear is the data. It just slips right through your head.
Yeah, it's like reading a textbook.
Yeah, but when you're entertained, your brain is engaged and you'll actually learn the material. Most speakers, most trainers do not understand that, unfortunately. And not many people teach it.
Let's talk about Speak Up.
Yep.
That's the name. I have Speak Up Professional Speaker Studio. Is that the correct name?
That is the correct name.
Stole it from the Facebook page. So that's why.
Yeah, it's speakupspeakers.com.
You created this, no?
So Carrie White was the founder. It's kind of interesting how Speak Up came about. Carrie White started this little group of professional speakers where we just wanted to get together and talk about where we were speaking and what we were doing. And me and him really got a connection. And we went around the room one day and we said, what do you guys need? What do you guys need? And they all said, I need more places to speak. So me and Carrie got together and we goes, you know what? Let's make some places to speak. So we created some events and we did some events for Speak Up. And then we realized it hit us. We saw some of these speakers, these professional speakers that were making lots of money speaking, but they were boring.
Yeah.
They were not engaging. And we're like, oh my gosh, we have got to start a movement to show people how to actually get on stage and have some freaking fun with the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Is that hard though? Is that hard to try to teach people to be engaging? That seems like it would be really difficult. Really?
It's not hard. I mean, you went to Story Magic. Did you see the portion where we had them get up and tell a funny story?
Yeah, well, exactly.
And then we made them do something goofy?
The way you roll it all out, I mean, it's brilliant. So, I mean, it was only a 2 hour, it was like 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
It made me, because you do like 2 or 3 day workshops.
Yes, we do a 3-day intensive where we people tell me, Bobby, this has changed my life.
Well, and I could see how, man. If you do it 3, because it's like what 9 to 5, like each day,
yeah,
or
9
8
to 5 each day.
I mean, if 2 hours, what 2 hours did to me, if I did that over 3 days, I mean, unbelievable.
You become like family. Like the last one we just had, they're all together creating they're creating this teenager thing called Everyday Heroes. They've actually created a movement and a thing with the last group that we had, and they become I mean, it's like
cool.
That 3 days. I mean, we really.
It's like a graduating class. You move on with your peers and start creating things together.
Yes, it is. But it's about being real. It all comes down to: do you want to really be cool on stage? Then be who you are, and then have fun with it. People talk about you need the right body language and you need to say the right words, but guess what? If you're comfortable up on stage, you have the right body language. You say the right things when you're not worrying about what you're saying. The reason you say ums and ahs is because you're trying to fill it, because you don't know what to say.
You and I could benefit from this.
Oh,
Chrissy.
huge. I know.
You do this every month,
I need
right?
this.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do Story Magic every month, the 2 hour class. And then we do the 3-day intensive every 3 months.
Oh, wow. Okay. So every 3 months is when
every 3 months we do the intensive. But we are working on a new class that I'm really excited about, a new 3-day intensive called The Performer.
Well, how much could you share? Could you share much about this or not?
I am. So it's all me, because no matter what you teach, no matter what you think you're going to do on stage, you have to perform.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get up there and perform. It is. I think of like The Greatest Showman. I mean, I can't help it. That show is.
Oh, it's a great show.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
There's so many messages in there, but the whole point of him is that it's about the performance. And on stage, when you're telling a message, if you look at all the great speakers right now, Tony Robbins and all those others, they are performers. They are 100% performing on stage. They're being real. Now, some people make the misconception that performing means being fake.
Really?
And it's not. Performing who you are up on stage, and that's what the performer is designed to do, to pull out your performer, not somebody else's, because I can get up and tell you what you should and shouldn't do, but you're not me.
Right. Everybody has a different skill, different talent, different authenticity.
Exactly.
Really. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the way the performer is created, for you to be the performer you're supposed to be, not how to act like Bobby. We use me as I'm a little high strung. I'm a little.
You're the inspiration.
So what's the difference between the two classes then? The
performer and the message to magic. So message to magic is all about your core message, and how to use that to create a training. So we actually show you how to take the blueprint after you find. So we do one whole day of nothing but finding your message. And it is the most spiritually connected thing. I mean, there's a lot of bawling. It's hard to explain something, because this is about becoming a speaker that why is there bawling? I don't understand. But when you can move people, I am a blubbering idiot that last day. These people are so powerful in that class that I'm just bawling the whole time. Then it's a big joke. Hey, who's going to make Bobby cry? Who's going to make Bobby cry next time? But I do cry at Zach commercials, so I guess that doesn't matter.
But then the performer is the new thing, and that's a little bit more about getting up on stage.
It's about finding your performer, because all of you guys know like who Jason Hewlett is? You guys ever heard? He's a Utah guy. He does corporate trainings. But he's a goofball. He does corporate events, and he does high level corporate events, but he's goofy and he makes faces but he's him, and he's found who he is, and everybody connects with it.
All right, guys, if you're looking to move to Salt Lake City, if you're looking to move outside of Salt Lake City, if you're looking to just kind of move around within Salt Lake City, and if you love the charm and character of older homes, you need to contact our friends Monique and Jeremy Higginson of Market Source Real Estate.
For the last 17 years, they have been specializing in helping people buy and sell homes in Sugar House and the greater Salt Lake area.
They have a background of flipping houses, and they've owned almost 24 homes themselves, so they know all the ins and outs of older homes.
If you're looking to sell your home, Market Source Real Estate specializes in helping sellers update or repair their homes to increase their value and make sellers more money.
If you're looking to buy an old home, they know what to look for in older homes, so you don't end up buying a money pit. I know we've all seen the movie with Tom Hanks. Gosh, that movie was a nightmare. So find out their info at thinksaltlakecity.com, or give them a call on the telephone at 801-810-6773. Again, thinksaltlakecity.com, or give them a call at 801-810-6773. And many thanks to Market Source Real Estate for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. All right, guys, I know we have all seen the big digital billboards when you're driving up and down I-15. Have you ever wondered, hey, how can I get my business up there? How can I get my business in front of all of these eyes of these people driving up and down I-15? It is really easy. Blip Billboards is your answer. Rather than the typical month-long contract that can cost you thousands of dollars and only have your billboard up in one location, Blip sells per flip, aka a blip, on digital billboards. A blip is anywhere between 7.5 and 10 seconds, depending on the billboard, and one of these blips can actually go for as little as 1 penny, you guys. But you can be specific on which board you want to advertise on, local, or if you want to be adventurous, you can do it nationwide, and you could pick the times that you want to advertise, and you only pay for the time that you want your message to be up. You know, I know I just posted the other day the billboard for the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This has been an amazing campaign to do with Blip Billboards. It's really been awesome to gain awareness with the podcast. We get the name out there. We get people visiting our website. Billboards are an effective way in building your brand. It's cheap. It's effective. You can pick the billboard you want to advertise on. check them out, blipbillboards.com, and tell them that I Am Salt Lake sent you. And of course, many thanks to Blip Billboards for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. All right, guys, we need to talk a little bit about Five Wives Vodka. If you have never tried Five Wives Vodka yet, please pull your head out of the hole that it's been stuck in, head on down to the state liquor store and pick up a bottle. Because when you're in Texas, go ahead, drink Tito's. But if you're here in Utah, you drink Five Wives Vodka. So the next time you're at your local bar, the next time you're at the state liquor store, you pick up a bottle of Five Wives Vodka and you pick up a bottle for your buddy because he's going to invite you over for a barbecue this weekend. But a lot of people, they don't know that there's actually 3 different flavors. I was one of these people for the longest time. I only knew about the original flavor, but Chrissy and I, we're going to tell you about all 3 flavors. They have the original Five Wives Vodka. This is the one I drink all the time. It is made from Utah mountain spring water. It's 100% distilled corn spirit and it's gluten-free. The spring is actually hidden in beautiful Ogden Canyon. It's inaccessible by vehicle, so they're actually hiking out this water 5 gallons at a time.
And Five Wives Sinful is a flavored vodka with a delicious cinnamon taste. Unlike other cinnamon products that give you a cinnamon candy taste, Sinful is like a morning cinnamon roll with only 76 calories per ounce. And hey, maybe you can even have some with your morning cinnamon roll.
And there is also the Five Wives Heavenly, which is a flavored vodka with a delicious vanilla taste. Heavenly's rich, buttery vanilla flavor. It comes through without coating your taste buds with sugar, and this is going to result with more vanilla and less calories. Head on over to fivewivesvodka.com. This is where you can find out more information about it. Or better yet, hop in your car if you're not in your car yet, or if you're in your car, just pull over, go to your local state liquor store, pick up a bottle. Like I said, pick up a bottle for your buddy. And
pick up a bottle for Chrissy, because this is making me thirsty.
And of course, many thanks to Five Wives Vodka for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. You know what? Okay, I want to talk about the book that you wrote, but I want to get into this podcast that you do because I think it's great. How did you meet your co-host Ryan? How did the two of you guys meet?
So this is a great, interesting story. So me and Ryan, we have been going to different entrepreneur groups, and we met at a entrepreneur group called ELP, Entrepreneur Launchpad. I look at it as kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous for entrepreneurs. You know, it's been 6 months since my last business idea. And it's just a place to get together with all these crazy people that have crazy ideas. And me and Ryan just really hit it off. And I tell people he is a graphical genius. I've never seen anybody that understands graphics like he does, and brands, and how to connect a brand with a person. He's just amazing. And one day he goes, Bobby, and Ryan's a very soft-spoken, heart-based, sweet guy. And he comes to me and he says, Bobby, I want to do this podcast about doing good in the world, in business, because nobody's doing that. And I'm really quiet, but you're loud and kind of out there. I think it would be fun to do it together.
But have you talked to him prior to this of doing a podcast? He just approached you.
He approached me and said, you want to do a podcast with me? And I'm like, dude, sure. Why not? That sounds like fun. The first couple episodes was on our phone. And then I bought a little snowball mic, and we interviewed. I think that was the first 15 episodes. And then I just went crazy and bought like $4,000 worth of equipment. Okay, we're going to do this thing.
Oh,
and he comes in the room and there's all these mics and everything. And he's like, oh, I guess you really want to do this.
Like I said, you go big or go home.
Exactly.
Everywhere. That's amazing.
So how long have you been doing the podcast now then? A couple of years now?
Yes,
1 year?
a couple of years. Well, 2017, we started January of 2017. So
for quite a while. I mean, you definitely got past that, what do they say, 7 to 10 episodes?
Yeah, 10 episode hurdle. Yeah.
Or so how many
we're at 80.
Good grief.
Yeah,
and what episode? I'm trying to remember what episode I was on.
What episode were you?
I'll put the link on the episode show notes for this so people can go start with that episode.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And you're a great interview.
And I had a lot of fun.
It's weird being on this end.
No, it is. Your podcast, Biz for Good, that's the correct name, right? Yeah,
yep.
Biz for Good.
Yep.
is such a fun show. And I'll tell you, I enjoy, sometimes I'll be on Facebook and I'll scroll and it'll show you live with who, and I'll sit there and watch it. I'll be like, this is great, man. I love it.
We don't take ourselves too serious. That's for sure. And
I think you should always take your job seriously, but never take yourself seriously.
Ooh, I like it.
Me too.
I like it. Yes. You go with gusto.
Yeah.
But life is life.
What do you like about podcasting? Like, do you have like a favorite thing?
So much I love, but truthfully, the people.
Yeah.
One, the people we interview is amazing. So the premise of the Biz for Good show is people that are doing good in business. So we have people on the show that are just spreading the good, and we're really liberal with what that means, because good is a very woo-wooey out there kind of what does good mean. So we have fun with it. And we've had, people that have owned billion-dollar businesses to somebody that started making candy in their house to, everything in between. And we had the gentleman that did burritos for the homeless. Just some really cool. I love meeting the people.
And you do them all in person, right? In your office.
We do some remote.
Sky. Okay, you do some.
We do some remote.
Aren't those the best though? Because I love them because you can do them in your underwear, right? Like
the remote ones.
Well, okay, you could do an in-person one in your underwear if you want.
Like, oh my gosh, it would be nice just to.
Like I always say, it's my show. We can do whatever the crap we want.
That's right. Nothing will make other people feel either super comfortable or super uncomfortable, like showing up in your underwear.
Right. Yeah. It's just comfort. And depending on the kind of underwear, it could maybe not look too bad.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you, Bobby. I'm always trying to get people to start a podcast, right? You know that about me. As a business owner, right? You have your businesses.
I mean,
have you found it helpful to promote your businesses through your podcast?
We haven't done that well, but I do believe podcasting is the new social media to get above the noise right now. All of the Facebook and Twitter and everything else, nothing can connect to your clients, I think, like a podcast can. Yeah. Because they get to know you, really get to know you. They get to know your personality. I love the whole podcasting world. I didn't realize how much I would love it until I got into it. We all three were a part of the Utah Podcast Summit.
Great event, by the way.
Oh, it was amazing. And it was the people again. The people out there that are wanting to do podcasts have this vision of doing, what they believe in, what they want. There's so many cool people out there. I'm excited for the future of podcasting. I just think so much cool stuff is coming up.
And there's something unique about the audio medium where you genuinely connect one-on-one with people more so than video or reading something. And people have to actually be very present and paying attention while they're listening to you. So I think it's actually, I can't think of the word, but it means more to people than things they can just scroll through online.
Even an audiobook. I listen to tons of audiobooks and I used to love audiobooks. Now I listen to a lot of podcasts just because it's almost like you're there with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's an intimate, it's such a interesting thing. There's data to learn, and some of the podcasts are better at that and worse at that. Some of them are just cool to listen, like your guys's. It's just cool to listen to.
Well, thank you.
And get to inside somebody. It's just cool.
It is really fun just getting to know people.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like you're reading I know that sounds weird. It's like you're reading their diary, but.
No, but you are though, especially if you learn to be vulnerable and open up to your audience, which a lot of, including myself, sometimes I'm like, oh, what should I share? Here's a question for you, Bobby. If people are listening, they want to start a podcast. I know this is a vague question, but do you have a piece of advice that you would give them?
Do it.
Yeah.
And so my business card, I have a business card that says DO ! I truly believe that the true secret to success is one word, 2 letters. Do. Take some action. And podcasting is huge. Everybody thinks the stars have to align perfectly right. And I tell them, dude, the first 15 episodes are going to suck no matter what you do. Get the first 15 episodes out of the way and start podcasting.
Yep.
Sometimes the 300th one still sucks. I mean, seriously. I mean,
exactly.
It's true.
Just do it. Just do it.
A lot of times you don't know, how it's going to record. You don't know your guest, if they're going to, you don't know, but you just do it and you have fun. And that's the best part of podcasting.
Yeah.
Is just like, hey, this is it. We're not a fancy radio station. We're not all this. We're just making magic happen, right?
And the great part is you can put it out there, and even if you know it sucks, you know you're still working towards a better version of it. You're always progressing.
And you do too. That is the coolest part. Every day it seems like we learn something more, and we'll tweak things and we'll play with stuff, and it's fun because it's like, nobody's telling us what we can and can't do, and we just play with it.
One episode a week, right, is what you do, right?
Yeah, we do one episode a week.
So Biz for Good, it's in all the podcast players, right? Apple Podcast, Stitcher.
BizForGoodShow.com.
Okay.
And all of iTunes and all of those. Stitcher.
Now your book, 8 Wisdoms, The Greatest Adventure in the Search for Wisdom, right? Did I get that title right?
Is the Search for Wisdom.
Is the Search for... need some new glasses here. Is this the only book you've written, right?
It is. And can I tell you a little bit about that book? It's very close to my heart. I read it. Yeah, there you go. I read it several years ago.
We know what you meant. It's fine.
I authored it.
You just said you had dyslexia,
exactly.
though, not very long ago.
And I was at a turning point. I dealt with fear disorder and depression because I'm my parents' son. And I went through a whole lot of classes and training and teaching and a lot of woo-woo stuff and personal development stuff because I didn't, I love my parents, but they went through lots of drugs to keep them on a narrow path. And I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to find this different path. And I truly, through eating differently and exercising and all of these different things, my wife will tell you I'm a different human being than I was 10 years ago. And I just knew I was supposed to write a book about it. But I'm a story guy. I can't stand data. So I wrote the book as a story about a boy that loses his family and wants to know why life sucks, why the world sucks so bad.
So it's kind of a fictionalized retelling?
It's very fictionalized.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But there's messages in the 8 wisdoms that he learns. He goes to the master to find out why life sucks. And of course, over 10 years of time, he sends him through these 8 different principles to learn. And of course, in the end, he learns that life doesn't suck. Life is what you make it. And that was the path I took. And I share it in that book. So it means a lot to me. And if it wasn't for the 5 different editors that had a lot to do with that book, it would have not been readable.
The book's in Audible too, right?
It's in Audible. And the guy that did, everybody says, well, why didn't you read it? Well, because I have dyslexia and it would suck for me to read it.
I don't know, man. I would have enjoyed listening. You got a very dynamic.
Unfortunately, when I'm reading, though, it would be blah, blah. It wouldn't have been as pretty.
How long ago did you write the book?
It's been about 5 years. And I keep it kind of, it's interesting. I haven't really promoted it or anything. I mean, it's got like 20 different reviews, 5 and there's only 1 4-star on Amazon. I believe it's a great book, but hey, I wrote it, so I would think it's a great book. But it's just near and dear to my heart, and the messages inside. I've had people tell me it's extremely powerful, but it's my baby.
Can you get it from any local bookstores, or is it just all Amazon?
It's all Amazon.
From your website, can you get it directly from?
No, it's all Amazon.
All Amazon.
All Amazon, Audible. That's just easy.
Yeah, no, it probably is. It probably is
easy to find. What was really difficult for you about writing a book? The process.
That's a great question. The funny thing is, the first 6, 7, 8 months, I think I was like halfway through it, and it was brutal. I would write a chapter or so, and then I'd send it to an editor, and it was just. And then one thing. I wrote it, and then finished the book in a couple months after I read one book. And it's interesting, this book. It's called Stephen King on Writing. Have you guys heard of that book?
I haven't, no.
No.
Any person that thinks they want to write a novel or wants to become a writer, absolutely 100% should read that book, Stephen King on Writing. It's written by Stephen King, and it's about, half of it is kind of a biography about himself, or an autobiography. The other half is kind of his strategy for writing. And dude, I took it to heart. And in less than 2 months, I had finished the book that took me 8 months to get to half through.
Wow.
I'll have to check that out.
Oh,
yeah.
if you want to write.
I've always thought it would be fun to write a book. Even if it would just be a 20-page book, a pamphlet, I guess it would be.
Man, I get into I'll tell you this, the biggest secret that he said in the book that I took to heart, and it freaking worked for me. You take every day, the same time, every single day, in the same place, and you don't get up until you've written 1,000 words. Every day.
I love it.
It was weird. Once I made that commitment, I got up at 6:30 in the morning, and I went down into my man cave every single day. And sometimes I'd leave there with 1,500 words or 2,000 words. But I did it, and it was done in less than 2 months.
Did you ever have a time where you sat down to write and there was just nothing?
Never.
Really?
Yeah. The block. I'm a storyteller. Mm-hmm. Always have been a storyteller. My kids, they know lots. I don't tell. I make up stories. All my kids know, like Jack and the Apple and the Monkey and the Banana. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of stories. The Old Man That Lived. My son keeps telling me, when are you going to write the book, The Old Man That Lived? You need to write that book, because I love that story. It's about an old man that's dying, and he finds out that his dog can speak, and the dog tells him, dude, all dogs can speak. We just don't do it because, we don't want you guys to freak out. Anyway,
Dude, I'd read that book.
I'd read that book too.
Oh, and by the way, we also can fly. Just a heads up. Dogs can also fly, but we don't download, the pyramids that everybody's always talking about.
Yeah.
That was actually dogs, but we don't like to talk about it. At least that's what Duke is telling him.
Wow, dogs are very humble.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I haven't written that one, but my son. Anyway, where was I going? Sorry, guys.
No, that's all right.
No,
That's all right.
awesome.
That's the joy. That's the joys of a podcast. So when you're not, writing books or speaking or doing a podcast, what are some of your other hobbies and interests? Some other Bobby's hobbies and interests?
My son told me the other day, Dad, you have no hobbies.
You got tons of hobbies.
And I said, dude, what are you talking about? I speak all over. I do podcasts. And he's like, those are jobs. Those are work. And you know what? I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love what I do. There's nothing else I need to do because everything I do is awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking, the podcast is cool. I'm also the founder of EFL, Entrepreneurs, Founders, and Leaders, where we just get together and mesh again. We've created our own group of entrepreneurs that sit and talk about ideas and views and things to do. And I love that stuff, creating.
Now, can anybody be part of this or what?
EFL360.com. Go to EFL360.com. We meet every Thursday at the Miller campus, room 333.
Talk about this for a minute.
6.
I don't know how much you have to do with that incubator deal, the Miller campus.
Yeah, the Miller campus incubator.
Is that just like I've been there a handful of times, and I've been trying to figure out what that is. Is that like a co-working space? Or what is it?
You know what? They're trying to figure out what that is,
I've
too,
never
I think.
figured out really what it was, because you guys have little separate rooms.
Yep. And I have an office there. I've had an office there for a couple of years now. I also have an IT services business.
Okay.
And we actually take care of the technology there at the incubator.
Okay.
So that's why we're there. They want to be more. We want to be more where it's really more of an incubator where we assist the businesses there. It's been in the past basically office space, and it's a best kept secret. I love
it's a cool spot, man.
Yeah.
It's a great space. And the folks there are really, really cool. Tim and Jackie. And I think Tim is really working hard to get this more into an incubator version, but it's a slow. I mean, all of the business resource center is there. People don't realize there is a ton of stuff at that campus in that specific building.
Now,
SCORE. Do you guys know SCORE?
Oh yeah, SCORE.
SCORE. What is that?
It's a small business, isn't it?
Mentorship.
Mentorship. Yeah. It's people who have retired who are entrepreneurs they go to mentor.
And it's
up
free.
and coming
It's paid for
entrepreneurs.
by federally funded.
Oh,
So
I
it
didn't
doesn't
know that.
cost you a dime to get a mentor that has experience.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's a
anybody
cool
that doesn't
program.
have a SCORE mentor, why not if you're in business? If you're trying to create a business, everybody should have a SCORE mentor. But
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Now, I know we're not here. I mean, you don't have a lot to do directly with the incubator, but how can people, what's the best way to find out more stuff going on? Because there's always events going on there.
Yeah,
man. Is there
there
a
is.
website or something? Or
Yes.
you probably don't know it. It's fine.
Something.
Google knows.
Sorry, no, I know that
community
you don't have a
college
lot to do with that place, but I mean, I figured, well, you're here.
Well, we
and
take
you're-
care of their technology, so I kind of do have quite a bit.
Yeah.
I just don't have anything to do with the curriculum or
Sure.
how they do the stuff there. But it really is a best kept secret. So I don't want to say too much because it might ruin it. But
No.
It'll get overrun by people who.
Here's a question
using
for
it.
you, Bobby, and I ask pretty much everybody who comes through here: most memorable concert or sporting event that you've been to? For some reason, I could imagine you've been to a really amazing concert.
I was gonna go with my first concert, which was Crocus. You guys probably don't know Crocus.
I do.
You know who Crocus is?
I've sold a few Crocus shirts in my day on eBay. I used to sell vintage clothing on eBay.
That was my first concert.
Okay.
And it was cool, but it wasn't my favorite. So my favorite band is Y&T, and nobody knows who that is.
I do know Y&T. Just again,
Summertime
sold
Girls.
t-shirts.
Of course,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Chris knows everything.
I love like
If
classic
it's a hair-
rock,
if it's an
classic
80s
hair
hair
metal,
band.
classic 80s. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm a big 80s hair man, but in I want to say 86, between 84 and 86, so Y&T was opening for Aerosmith. I didn't even really know who Aerosmith was, so I went out and bought a greatest hits of Aerosmith, and of course Dream On was like, wow, that is a great song.
Wait, where was this show at?
Not Waco,
Somewhere-
Amarillo, Texas.
Okay, so in a different
Amarillo.
state, which I would imagine was off the hook.
Yeah, it was Amarillo, Texas, which if you've ever been there, it's in the middle of nowhere, big city.
Okay.
I am crushed up against the stage. Me and my buddy are crushed up against the stage, and Y&T comes out. And Dave Manichetti is like my idol. He's the guitarist and the lead singer. It's one of the very few bands where he does both, and he is an amazing guitarist. And there I am, Dave's sweating on me. It's like the coolest thing ever. Wow, and we're jamming out right. It was the greatest thing. And then Aerosmith came on, and of course these girls like bashed between me and my buddy, and so now we were smashed up against these girls, which was not horrible either. But then like 20 years later, I find out they're playing at some little club down here in Salt Lake.
No kidding.
And I told my wife, hey, we're going to see Y&T. And here I am. There's like 30, 40 people right here in front of the stage, me and my wife. And there's my idol, Dave Manichetti. He's older.
Sure.
And I'm just, they rocked the freaking house. And my wife was like, man, that was a spiritual experience. I can see why I'm like, yeah, they rock it. And he's still rocking the house, this old 80s
good
hair
for
band
him.
guy.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Anyway, that's a very long favorite concert.
No,
Three
no.
concerts.
No,
thrown in.
that's why I asked the question,
They're
man.
good concerts, apparently.
Salt Lake City. We ask a few Salt Lake City related questions. Do you have any if somebody was visiting Salt Lake City for say the weekend, is there, some people say hiking spots or areas of town. I don't know if there's anywhere in the valley that you would tell them to check out or to do.
We always take people downtown.
Yeah.
That's kind of classic, isn't it?
There's a lot of cool stuff downtown, even just walking around.
I'll be honest, I don't like going downtown personally.
Really? What is it about downtown, Bobby?
Oh, it's any downtown.
Really?
I think.
Not a city person.
It's funny because I love people. I hate crowds. I would rather be on stage in front of thousands of people than in a crowd of thousands.
Yeah, just that claustrophobia.
I don't know. I'm weird. I got some little funkiness. Again, I'm my parents' son.
What about favorite local eating spots? I would imagine you got one or two.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Thai.
Okay, that's up Chris's
That is
alley
right
there.
up my alley.
You a Thai fan?
Oh, heck yeah.
Simply Thai on 106.
Oh my gosh, I love that place so much.
That's down
Natty?
near. That's
Natty's
down
the
near
owner?
work.
Oh, see, I don't know the owner,
Yeah,
but
she
I've
comes-
eaten there too many
little
times.
Thai lady that comes up and says hello to people.
Oh yeah, wait, she's short hair, right?
Yeah, short hair.
Oh,
That's
she's
her.
adorable.
Natty, yes.
It's a great place.
I'll just
Everybody
leave
should go.
here,
I know.
guys. If you want to talk about Simply Thai,
I'm just gonna talk about their coconut soup.
Mekong Cafe. Have you been there on State?
I've seen it, but I haven't been there. I should try
Is that
it.
down near that same area?
Kind of.
Sandy-
I was going to say,
Sandy area?
you work
Yeah.
right off
State.
106, don't you?
Yeah, I'll have to go there.
Mekong. It's hard to get to. It's just, there's a little, you have to turn in and they have a little parking in the back.
Oh,
and it's
man.
a tiny little place, but the yellow curry is a beautiful thing.
I'm going to have to find it.
My mouth is watering now talking. I'm a big fan of Thai. I could eat Thai every day, I think.
Oh, yeah.
If you could learn one random skill, what would it be, Bobby? Is there like one that's tucked away in the back of your head? I've had people through here, magician, ventriloquism, unicycle. Is there one like that you have tucked away in your head?
You know what? It's interesting. I've always wished I could spell, but I've never been able to. I had a buddy, I remember him telling me, dude, that's the easiest thing in the world. How can you not spell? And I remember going, I don't know, but I can't. And I would love to. I remember it was so hard in school because it took me hours and hours to do something that my buddies could do in 15, 20 minutes. And I remember thinking, man, I wish I could do
Just
that
do it.
quick.
Has spell check changed your life at all?
It's a beautiful thing.
That's awesome.
It's still, I use Grammarly now, which is even better
yeah.
because it
Grammarly's good.
helps with grammar.
right.
Because spell check was good, but my grammar was all messed up too. And there's lots of words out there that are spelled right, but aren't the right
Yes.
word. I remember sending an email out we need to give somebody the right permissions for this, that, or the other. And the person is like, why do they need permeations? I don't get it. Don't.
I feel you. Dyslexia actually runs in my family, so I'm really glad that there are such cool things that can actually help nowadays.
Let's run down the list. Let's talk about how people can get a hold of you with like your Speak Up podcast, your book. I mean, is it all one website? What do you got, Bobby?
No, they're all different websites. So speakupspeakers.com for Speak Up, or you can go to Speak Up Professional Speaker Studio on Facebook. There is 8wisdoms.com if you want to check out the book, 8wisdoms.com.
Or just even search in Audible or
or
Amazon.
search in
I guess.
Audible or Amazon. It's, it's near and dear to my heart. There's also thebizforgoodshow.com, and we're also on Facebook and Twitter and
All the good stuff.
all the good stuff. Instagram, we just hit over 5,000 Instagramians.
No kidding.
Yeah. so-
Man, I got to get more active on Instagram. I just find it so
an
boring.
interesting. Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah.
I don't get it still.
I never know what to do on there.
Yeah, we post stuff and they get all excited and it's weird. It's just weird. Instagram is
Yeah.
weird. It's like
yeah.
we'll do a live on Instagram. We'll have 50 people on there, hey, and they're talking. We don't even know, they're saying stuff, and you're like, do you just say stuff? Are you even looking at our thing? I mean, I don't get it. Social media, I don't know. I'm old.
And I'll put all those links at iamsaltlake.com with this episode. Do you have a question, Chrissy? I know you have a question or two that
for
you
sure
like
I
to
do.
close the show out with.
Yeah. Do you have a motto or piece of advice that you would leave with our listeners?
If you want to be more successful than you ever thought you could be, just do one thing: become accountable. The second I quit blaming other people for my life, like my parents, my spouse, my boss, the second I gave that up and became accountable for my life, the universe opened up amazing things for me. Being accountable is an amazing gift to yourself.
Thank you so much for coming and doing the podcast, Bobby. Finally got you on the show. I've had a heck of a conversation. I always tell people, let's catch up down the road. Come back on, we'll
Absolutely.
catch up. And
You guys are rock stars. I love it.
and thank
You
you so
are.
much. Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted while we're still recording? Anything that we didn't talk about that you're like dying and pressing to talk about?
No, you're beautiful.
All right.
You're beautiful people.
Love you, Bobby.
Many thanks again to Bobby Glen James for joining us on this episode of the podcast and sharing his story. You can head on over to our website at iamsaltlake.com/343 for all of the links for you to get in touch with Bobby. Go reach out to him and let him know that you heard him on our podcast.
All right. Don't forget to visit our website, iamsaltlake.com. This is actually where you can go and listen to all of the episodes. They're all right there online. You could go back like all the years, 5-6 years, as deep as you want to get. Listen to them right there online. All of the links to subscribe to the podcast right there. Links for social media. We even have an event calendar if you're looking for something to do in Salt Lake City. Say you're bored on a Tuesday night. Oh my gosh, what do I do? Head on over to iamsaltlake.com and check out that event calendar. and shoot us an email while you're there.
Many thanks again to our sponsors for this episode, Five Wise Vodka, Blip Billboards, and Market Source Real Estate. If you'd like to become a sponsor, get in touch with us. You can email us at hello@iamsaltlake.com.
All right, guys, you have a great week. Please get out and enjoy the city. Support local when possible, and we'll see you on the next episode.
And good night, Grammy.